Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Before starting the video, please subscribe and keep watching for more details videos. Elena Dementieva has different opinion than rest on Coco Gauff's biomechanics hire. Elena Dementieva has a different view on what Coco Gauff should focus on addressing in her game as the 2004 French Open and US Open finalist, thinks the American should have prioritized her forehand instead of serve. Throughout the clay season, Gauff kept her double fault number in check, and that resulted in her winning her second Grand Slam at the French Open. But then, the American serving woes resurfaced during the grass and North American hardcourt swings, and after a couple of rough displays, in which she mightily struggled with her serve and blasted double faults, the 21-year-old fired coach Matt Daly and hired biomechanics expert Gavin McMillan. Truth be told, there have been calls on Gauff to hire a biomechanics coach since 2023, and in August, she finally did it. Needless to say, the American's decision was widely praised. However, Dementieva, whose serve also wasn't the greatest despite her success, suggests Gauff would have benefited from in the long run if she prioritized improving her forehand. Dementieva, Gauff wins Grand Slams with this serve. She'd benefit from working on her forehand. I'm surprised she chose a serving specialist, because I think she would benefit from working on her forehand. She's obviously very well developed physically. For now, she's saving herself thanks to her good physical condition, but there are some important areas to improve. Former world number 3 Dementieva said on hardcourt, "I'm surprised because she says she makes a lot of double faults, but it doesn't really show in her game. She wins Grand Slams with them double faults, and when she does, is it a psychological or physical problem? I can't say I associate it with technique." Gauff's double fault count in 2025 is already over 350, which makes her by far the player with the most double faults on the WTA Tour this season. After hiring biomechanics expert McMillan, Gauff said her main priority for the rest of 2025 would be on improvement and not the results. The tennis world, always on edge with new theories, strategies, and narratives, buzzed with divided opinions after Coco Gauff announced her latest team addition, a biomechanics expert from MIT with no prior pro tennis experience, but a portfolio of work with elite swimmers, track athletes, and, surprisingly, esports professionals. Most former pros nodded approvingly. Some called it cutting edge. Others labeled it the next logical step in elite tennis. Chris Evert, ever supportive, praised Gauff for embracing science. Andy Roddick tweeted, "Can't argue with maximizing margins. Every tenth of a second counts." But when Tennis Focus Weekly reached out to former world number 3 and Olympic gold medalist Elena Dementieva during a charity clinic in Nice, her response was less enthusiastic and far more nuanced. "Everyone's obsessed with biomechanics now," she said, wiping sweat from her brow, smiling at a teenager who had just aced a serve. "But tennis is not a lab. It never was." The interviewer paused, a little surprised. "So, you don't support the move?" Elena chuckled softly, her signature blend of calm and candor. "It's not about support or criticism. I just think we are forgetting that tennis is an art, not just a science. Coco is brilliant. She doesn't need to be reprogrammed. She needs to be understood. That's different." 1. Coco's calculated bet. Coco Gauff, now 21 and solidified in the top 5, had always been a thinking player, analytical, focused, and adaptable. Her US Open win at 19 had proven her mettle. But in 2025, after a string of nagging injuries and early clay season exits, she sought a new edge. That edge came in the form of Dr. Niko Vasiliev, a Bulgarian-born movement scientist known for optimizing neurological response times and joint efficiency. His pitch: "We don't change Coco. We decode her." The goal: improve her first-step explosiveness, reduce unnecessary shoulder load on her serve, and tighten her backhand follow-through. The results, initially, were promising. At the Toronto Masters, she blitzed through the first 3 rounds with fewer unforced errors and visibly cleaner footwork. Still, for every analyst praising the data-centric approach, there were whispers of caution. In a Players Lounge podcast, retired doubles legend Bethany Mattek-Sands said, "At some point, too much tweaking messes with your instincts. But it was Dementieva's take that struck a deeper nerve, because she had lived the dilemma Coco might now face. 2. The ghost of a serve. Dementieva, for all her athleticism and baseline brilliance, had been haunted by one thing during her career: her serve. Or rather, the lack of a reliable one. "I had coaches who tried to break it down biomechanically," she recalled during a later interview with Eurosport. Angle of the toss, elbow height, wrist lag. It all made sense on video. But on court, I started thinking too much. My body didn't trust me anymore. She smiled ruefully. "When I just hit it, it was bad. When I overthought it, it was worse." In the end, Dementieva never fully fixed her serve, but she worked around it. Her footwork became elite, her return game relentless, her mental strength unshakable. She didn't need a perfect serve to beat the best. That, she feared, was the lesson Coco might miss. 3. Instinct versus engineering. Gauff's natural game had always been explosive and athletic, with a topspin-heavy forehand and a two-handed backhand that drew comparisons to Serena's early power. But her greatest weapon wasn't measurable. "She plays with instinct," said Dementieva. "It's like jazz. You don't want to put that on a metronome." Dementieva wasn't dismissing science. In fact, she applauded the progress. "When I started, we didn't even have slow-motion replays in training. We guessed what went wrong. Now, players have data for everything: spin rate, deceleration, even emotional fatigue." But her warning was clear: don't replace feel with formula. 4. A conversation in the tunnel. At the Cincinnati Open, after Gauff's quarterfinal win, there was a brief encounter in the players' tunnel. Dementieva, there for commentary duty, approached Gauff with her usual grace. "Congratulations," she said warmly. "Your court coverage looks even sharper." "Thanks," Coco beamed. "We've been working on my movement pattern, like my crossover steps instead of open stance slides." Elena nodded. "It shows. Just promise me something." "Sure. If your body ever feels smarter than the analysis, listen to it." Gauff blinked, caught off guard. "You think I'm overanalyzing?" "No," Elena said, "but I've seen what happens when players forget their own genius." The two shared a long look, athlete to athlete, generation to generation. Then Elena added, with a mischievous grin, "Besides, you're too good to become a robot." Gauff laughed. "I'll keep that in mind." 5. The long game. By the end of the season, Coco Gauff had added another title to her name, but also skipped the Asian swing due to shoulder tightness. Fans speculated if her new team had pushed her body too hard, too soon. In a year-end column full of quipe, Dementieva wrote a reflective piece titled "The Long Game: What Coco Reminds Us About Evolution." In it, she praised Gauff's courage to explore new frontiers, but reiterated her core belief: "The greatest players I faced, Williams, Henin, Kleisters, they all evolved, but they never outsourced their identity. That's the balance Coco must find, improvement without erasure." When asked if she would ever consider coaching Gauff, Elena laughed. "No, she doesn't need a coach like me. She needs people who remind her to trust herself, even when the data disagrees." 6. The next chapter. As 2026 dawns, Gauff's team remains intact, but sources say she's taken a more hybrid approach, keeping the biomechanist, but reintroducing unstructured play sessions into her practice, where feel and creativity reign. Whether this was directly inspired by Dementieva's quiet challenge, no one can say. But when Gauff posted a slow-motion video of her hitting trick shots with the caption, "Instinct matters," fans read between the lines. And Elena, she liked the post. No comment, just a thumbs up.